Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, the 28th of July, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup, episode 16.
Vamos Jerusalem, building here, amongst the stars it builds.
Guess who's back? Back again? Mouse is back. Tell her friend. Yeah, I had a weekend off, but I'm back, which will please some and annoy others. Um, did you think Did you really think I wouldn't be hosting the weekend roundup for UFC 304 in Manchester? Shake my head. Anyway, we have to start the show by wishing a no special happy birthday to Austin, who was 32 yesterday. So, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Austin. Happy birthday to you.
You sons of bitches.
That's going to be a nightmare for Dave to cut up in his audio trip.
No. Thank you, dude. Thank you.
That was terrible, and it is what it is.
I was going to say thank God for 3-track audio, Dave, but never mind. Oh, all right, enough of that. Did you have a good day, Austin? Not too hungover today, I hope.
I'm drinking water right now so I can stay hydrated, but I am not hungover. I am just very tired, and I'm probably gonna make it through the rest of the week fairly fine, but I'm gonna definitely need a margarita or two later. Doing great. It was a great weekend for me, and a great weekend of fights too.
Good. Glad to hear it. And as always, I'm joined by my regular co-host, Lazybed, who was getting into the spirit very early this weekend. I saw him necking bottles of wife beater like a good one. So how's it going, mate?
Well, the sun is out, the birds are chirping. That must mean it's bully season, baby. I'm doing fantastic. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Couldn't be happier. Hope you guys are doing well, because I know I am.
All right, let's get the housekeeping out of the way, and we'll start off by reminding you to like and subscribe because we're very close to the 100 subs that we probably thought would take us until the rest of the end of the year to get done. So anyway, let's get on with the show. So, na, Tommy Aspinall. Na. You could have joined in, you bastard.
I just wanted to see where you were going with it. Nah, Tommy Aspinall. Tommy Aspinall.
Na. Tommy Aspinall. Tommy Oh my God, this is a disaster. I hope he never hears it. So the man with the hardest knuckles in the UFC stepped up to what he considers his toughest fight in the UFC, facing Curtis Blades for the interim heavyweight title that we all know is the real heavyweight title. And this was their second meeting, the first one ending after about 15 seconds when Tom's knee gave out, his MCL, I think, and gifted Blades the win. And to say, well, Tom was eager to get a win back on this one. And he did that by defeating Curtis Blades by TKO strikes at 1 minute exactly of round 1. And he claimed himself a nice 100k bonus along the way.
Ooh.
So after the fight, Tom said that he was surprised by Blades' lack of speed, but he was also a little bit surprised by his reach. So Tom admitted he was clipped a couple of times. It didn't matter though, because Tom jumped straight into action. He said he rushed it, I think. But it was a solid jab that started the landslide, and then it was a follow-up right that sent Blades to the canvas. Tom started to pile on top of him. Curtis rolled over, belly down. Tom planted himself on his back, started dropping a flurry of ground and pound, and then the ref, Mark Goddard, stepped in to save Blades from getting flatlined. I know a few people have said it was an early stoppage, but Blades was down. He'd taken a bunch of unanswered shots, which you really don't want to do at heavyweight. He had a 251-pound killer on his back, and the stoppage was for his benefit. It wasn't for Tom's. Had it gone on any longer, Curtis would have gone to the land of wind and ghosts. So I don't think it was a bad stoppage at all by Mark Goddard. And so this is just crazy. Before this fight, Tom had the shortest average fight time in the UFC at 2 minutes 19 seconds, and it's now dropped. It's just 89 seconds. So less than a minute and a half. You're like that's like almost the life of World War I fighter pilot in World War One. So
That's
yeah. Anyway,
that's insane, dude. Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you might expect to see fighters walking through their opponents like this in the minor leagues, but Tom's doing it against the best heavyweight division in the world. Say what you want about heavyweights. So you can't dispute that Tom is the best heavyweight in the world right now. I know Guru's been going on about it, that John has never even knocked anyone out with his fists, and here we have Tom. He did it to Pavlovich, and now he's done it to Blades. This is just amazing. This is not number one bullshit. This is the truth. And it's funny that we had, after the fight, Dana again said that Tom would get to face either John or Stipe, and of course that depends. I don't think either of them will face Tom. I think Stipe 100% walks off with the belt if he wins, and I'd be gobsmacked if Bones were to pick up the petrol-soaked gauntlet that Tom has been throwing at his feet. And by the way, Tom's petrol-soaked hands that was a pretty epic little troll that him and the team set up. I know he had to retract it because young kids were dipping their knuckles in petrol, and that really didn't want to happen. So yeah, that was a funny little moment from the fight. Tom not enjoying the beer he had after the fight either. Somebody gave him a can of Stella, funnily enough, lazy. And, I think that was what he had to drink.
Sorry, Americans, I was taking the piss on that one.
Tom, right here.
Hello.
You mentioned having a beer post-fight. What was the beer of choice?
Oh, they just give me some Stella or something. It was terrible. It was awful. Like the cheapest beer. Sorry, Americans.
So anyway, what do you guys want to say about this fight? I don't know who wants to go first.
So my whole thing for this fight was just I felt like there was a lot left unsaid after the first meeting, and nobody's fault, but it's just an injury happens, right? And this one, it was just almost like, okay, I started to see Blades pop out that long jab of his, look for counters, that reach. I wanted to see a little bit more grappling. I wanted to see a full-on fight because I wanted to see how good Tom was. And Tom is so goddamn good that he doesn't need fucking 25 minutes to take someone out. So it's just I'm more disappointed I didn't get to see the full extent of what both of these men are capable of. I know how good Blades is. And it was just clean left hand, right counter, and just put him on his ass. And Blades, the minute he was on the mat, Tom was just right on top of him. Did not even give a second's thought to it. He just literally was on him, like fucking white on rice, and just bludgeoned the man. And you can't even say it was an early stoppage because, like Mouse was saying, there's no response from Blades. Matter of fact, his head hits the mat at one point during the flurry, and you can't really even argue that point if it's an early stoppage. He's getting bludgeoned regardless. And if it continues, I mean, we don't need to see people die in the cage, but some fans will ask for more blood because they're savages. But it was a great performance, and my biggest thing from it was just Tom at the end. He's all, I just want to prove that I'm better than you. Like, yes, so fucking subtle, so fucking great. And I fuck the Stipe fight. I'm sorry, but fuck Stipe. John has to fight Tom Aspinall. That's it. There's no other fight. There's no other fight. Even if Jones and Stipe do fight, what's the likelihood that that fight actually comes through? None. It's, in my opinion, it doesn't need to happen, and fuck everybody else that does, because you're fucking idiots. If you do, I mean, God forbid, you want to see the actual belt defended, just put the belt on Tom. Who gives a fuck at this point? He'll defend it against John. It's fine. Watch John Jones not make it to the fucking fight and then retire because he's a bitch.
Was a pretty epically polite call out from Tom.
Yeah, a little bit too polite for my liking. I was hoping to hear a little bit more fire in his fucking belly and a little more gravel in his chest or something, like, because the whole polite, sportsman-like way is not getting John's attention, and that's not getting you that fight. But anyway, a couple of points here. First off, he might not have been dipping his hands in petrol like he claimed. But like I said on the Discord last night, I think he must have been dipping his fucking balls in petrol, because this dude's a fucking beast, dude. Like you said, Danger, like it's one thing if you're mowing through your division in like the minor leagues or some sort of regional promotion like the way he is, but to be doing this in the UFC, what's supposed to be the top tier of MMA, and just buzzsawing through these guys that are like, they're supposed to be contenders, and he's making them look like chumps. And every time you have some skepticism going into one of his fights, he silences it. Like, you can't. It's getting to the point you can't debate this guy. The only thing we can question is, how does he look if he gets out of the first round? Because we never fucking see it. Like,
we did briefly against Arlovsky.
All right. Well, how long ago was that, though? You know what I'm saying? Like,
a while back.
This is an Aspinall on a whole new level. Second point, John Jones and Stipe. I love my guy Stipe. I'm an Ohioan at heart, always will be. Stipe is always going to hold a special place in my MMA lore, but I'm finally on board. Like, that fight just doesn't need to fucking happen now. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no cause or call. Is it going to happen? I do believe so. Should it happen? No. But like I've been maintaining all along, whoever wins that fight, if it does go down in November at MSG, I do believe that they're going to lay the title down and retire, whether it's John or Stipe. Hell, they might both retire. And then, like Dana said in the post-fight press conference, boy, won't that suck. Yeah, it will. It'll really suck for you, because it'll be proof positive that this was all a fucking huge waste of time, and you should just put that fucking strap on the man, Tommy Aspinall, all along. So,
absolutely.
And then I just reminded myself of the other point. If you again, to echo what you guys said, I don't think you can argue that stoppage whatsoever. Blades face planted twice during that barrage of ground and pound. Did it look like he was getting up when the fight finally did get stopped? Maybe, possibly. But does that mean anything? No. That just means he was going to absorb more punishment. And maybe you can afford to let that fight go a little bit longer at the lighter weight classes. But if there's one weight class you're not going to let that go on, it's heavyweight. Those dudes are fucking, they're hitting like Mack trucks, especially somebody like Tommy. So, yeah. Great fucking win. And now the question becomes, how does this shit play out over the next few months, and do we get to a vacated title, and they can make this Tommy's next bout an actual unification bout or something like that? Or I don't know, like, I just don't.
We have Tom towering over the division, looking down on John and Stipe and knowing that neither of them's gonna probably fight him. The fun thing is that Dana has announced that he's going to be the reserve fighter for Madison Square Gardens. So Tom Aspinall will be there in the crowd at the very least to see that fight, and then either John Jones is going to have to accept a fight with Tom Aspinall, or he's going to have to retire. presuming that John wins, because what else can he do? He can't let Tom walk into the ring, agree to fight him, and then not fight him, unless he just wants to be an arsehole and keep the division waiting for 6 months while he thinks about, or trains and then decides he's going to quit.
I can see that, because that's going to be what's going to happen. If Tom wasn't as dangerous as he appeared, matter of fact, I think Lazy, did you make this point in the preview show, where if like Tom looks like he's struggling with blades, like if it goes the distance, John would have said yes to him? Did you make that point, or am I making that up?
I honestly don't recall, but yeah, I mean, that's a valid point.
I think John was, as someone said, was sat at home with his fingers and toes all crossed, hoping that Blade would win. So then he could just go, look, Tom Aspinall's just another come-up fighter who didn't really have the goods. And now he's sat at home going, shit. He just went through me 60 seconds. Gone in 60 seconds. I should have thought of that as fun earlier on.
Yeah, he had that tweet definitely pre-written. Like he had the draft ready to go on Twitter, just waiting to send it out. But yeah, okay. Here's a question for you guys though. Suppose the Stipe and John fight does go down, and John doesn't retire afterwards. Like say he beats Stipe and retains the heavyweight belt, but doesn't retire after the fight. Tom's there in attendance, and he was guaranteed the next shot. Do they bring Tom into the cage and do a face-off right then and there? You know how they sometimes do. Like, does Tom finally get his face-to-face with Jones?
Well, he's already had it kind of, but yeah, I think he'd have to. It's not like he's a security risk or anything, is it?
I know what's gonna happen. I see what you're doing, Lazy. You sneaky son of a bitch. They're gonna bring in. They're gonna bring in Pereira. And John's gonna go out and bring Pereira, because of course he would, because he would be avoiding the fight that everyone wants to watch. God forbid. And then, there's also a weird amount of people asking for that fight over Tom for some reason, which makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. The guy who's the interim champion, who's also been burning motherfuckers in this division, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we kind of want to see Pereira go ahead and go up to heavyweight. Can he do the thing? Yeah, he has his own division. Let him fucking cook in that division while he's here. Let Tom Aspinall, the guy who has the interim belt, fight for the fucking actual belt. Why are we delaying the inevitable? Oh, wait, because he's younger? Oh, Pereira's older? Who gives a fuck? He should have come to MMA so late. But that's all. It's neither here nor there. Sorry, I was taking over your question. Yes.
I thought good rant.
Yeah, I say if he's there and he's in attendance, Tom, and John wins and he doesn't lay down the gloves, you gotta get him in there and you gotta get those two face to face in the cage. Like, you can't screw Tom out of that moment. Like, you gave that moment to Sean O'Malley, you gave that moment to, other guys maybe less deserving. Tom has earned that spotlight and that face-off opportunity. I just got a bad feeling. Like, I feel somehow he's gonna get fucked over. Like, he's gonna get screwed.
Does maybe Bones try and, I've only just thought of this, does Bones try and do the ultimate nice guy thing? And then let's say he fights Stipe, beats Stipe, Stipe retires, John Jones retires, or sorry, maybe Tom Aspinall comes into the ring, John Jones retires, and then straps the belt around Tom.
Oh,
as like a little bit of a heel move, like where it's like, right, I'm acknowledging you, but I'm never gonna fight you, kind of thing.
Yeah, you could do. Well, that would be the way you could take it.
Yeah, like almost like
I would absolutely take that.
Like patting him on the butt, like, here you go, big boy. Now it's yours. Like, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah.
That'd be the worst. That'd be even worse.
Yeah. If I'm Tom Aspinall, I'm throwing that belt down on the ground and fucking spitting on it. Like, no, I'm not taking.
Yeah.
I don't just thought of that.
Jesus.
Putting bad ideas out there in the ether, guys. Come on, what are we doing here?
Let me take a quick sip of a drink. Get your vocal cord ready. Okay. Okay, and on with the next highlight fight. Oh, Paddy the baddie. Oh, Paddy the baddie.
Oh, Paddy the baddie.
Oh, Paddy
Oh, Paddy the
Thought
baddie.
he'd let me
God
hang
damn it.
there.
We can't harmonize.
No,
for
I wanted
shit
to. I know we're not. I'm just kind of. We're kind of coming in at the second point.
All right. Anyway, Liverpool's favourite fighter came in to take on his toughest challenge yet, a genuine top 15 fighter, one formerly known as Bobby King Green. And I said in the preview show that Paddy might be more motivated in this fight because of his kids, and he ended up taking them each $100,000 because for some reason he was given a double bonus. Someone, I think it was Dave, joked earlier that he was getting 100k for the triangle and 100k for the armbar.
Yeah.
Not that the 200k was undeserved. This fight started off with them exchanging kicks. Paddy would throw a leg kick, and then Green would reply with a side kick, usually just stabbing at Paddy's front leg. And then for some reason, well, Green grabbed one of Paddy's Paddy's kicks, and he attempted a takedown, and he shot for a double, and then switched to a single, and all that did was give Paddy the chance to grab hold of his neck and drop his weight on him, and gain enough position to grab a gilly drop a gilly as he started to stand up, and then he very quickly realised that that wasn't going to happen, so he just switched into the triangle, and then at that point the king was slain. He almost had his arm broken because he passed out just as Paddy was switching over to add an armbar to the triangle. And I know Lazy should have something to say on this a bit later. But this was Green's first submission loss since 2009. And that was when he lost to a toe hold submission. Is that the gayest sounding sub of all time? What even is a toe hold? I just do not know.
Holy shit.
maybe Austin will fill me in a little bit later. Anyway, this was Green's first submission loss in the UFC. So I'm not sure if he was trying to score some extra points by grappling Paddy. That's the only reason I can think of. I'm going to beat you at your own game. So yeah, not a very wise idea at all by Green. A very deserved win for Paddy. But what's next for him? We know his contract ran out on this fight, but it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. He should now be in the top 15, as Bobby was ranked at 15 before the fight. And we know for sure, actually, that Paddy will want to look at a top 10 guy because he wants to fight Renato Moicano. And let's face it, beating Green the way he did must have added some heat back to Paddy's flame. And I know there's still going to be haters, but haters going to hate. And I think Paddy can easily handle that kind of shit. Although I know his mental health was a bit troubled before the fight. Maybe something to do with the young lad that he called out in his victory speech. Chaddy the Baddie, I believe the young lad was calling himself. 7-year-old who died of cancer, in case anyone missed on that one. Very sad.
Yeah.
So, anyway, this was the first time that Paddy's called someone out, and he did call out Moicano, and very good call out. Moicano is ranked at 10th, and I can see Paddy beating Moicano. I can see Paddy getting into the top 10, but I'm not sure we'll ever see him break into the top 5. Unless maybe really, really at the end of his career. This is just such a division of killers that I'm not sure how far Paddy can go in it. But he did look big versus Green as well. I forgot to mention that. He looked huge in that cage next to him. So I don't know how he stands up to some of the other 155ers. And I suppose I've yapped on long enough. I should let one of you take it away. Who wants it?
I'll go since Austin went first last time. Man, you opened a lot of talking points there, Dangermouse. A very good job there.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, well, first of all time fucking boneheaded move there by King Green. Like, what are you doing shooting for that fucking takedown, man? Like, you're having some success on the feet. Obviously, that's your realm. You know, we discussed it on the preview show. Like that's his path to victory if there is one in this fight. Does he have a wrestling background? Sure. Like if you look deep enough into it, but is he a fucking wrestler? Has that ever been his MO in combat sports? No. Like you're Bobby Green. You're a fucking striker. Like what are you doing shooting a takedown? First, that was my first thing I wanted to say. Like all-time moronic move, bad, terrible fight IQ. And then look what happened. You got what you deserved. I think Dangermouse, what you were pointing out is that, as I just said, the preview show, we predicted this, or at least I did. I seen this thing coming a fucking mile away, and I said there was the possibility of Patty getting a submission. Now, I thought it was going to be a lot more hard fought. I thought this was going to be probably a 3-round grinder, and at best, after getting walloped for like 2.5 rounds, Patty might lock something in late, but. Fuck, man, he really did come out more motivated than ever, I think, and locked in mentally on a level that we might have never seen from Patty. And if you followed his career since Cage Warriors, like he's seemed to always gone through these ebbs and flows of I don't know if I want to call it like mental health problems or just like turmoil in his life. Like it seems like he's gone through a lot of different things, and it affects him heavily on an emotional level. Whether that's been losses earlier on in his career and taking long time off after those, or losses in his personal life, those close to him, friends, family, close fans, whatever it might be. So it seems like he has a tendency to fall into possible mental traps, and that's a real hurdle that he's going to have to overcome if he does want to realize further success in this division, because it is a hell of a fucking division to be in, and this game, as we know, is 90% mental. So it's good that he addresses that and he's open about it, and he does speak about working with therapists and different shit like that. So shout out Patty for always shining a light on that, despite you not always being the best guy in other areas. But anyway, he's ranked now. He is what was it? What is number 10?
No,
15.
yeah, because yeah, I think that's the thing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right, so he is ranked now, and like Dangermouse said, he did finally call somebody out, and I can't remember where I seen it, but I heard somebody pointing out the fact that he waited until he was ranked to call somebody out, so somebody wouldn't build their name off of his.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to me. I think it was a good call out. There's talk of him wanting to do a season of Tough with Moicano, and I think that would be fucking box office, man. Like, if anything, it's going to revive that brand and bring it into this new era of MMA. Patty and fucking Moicano on a season of Tough as the coaches would be fun. But yeah, like, just a good win for him. I'm happy to see him in the rankings. I've never been a real fan or a hater of his. I've always just been kind of skeptical. So yeah, nice fucking win.
I picked against him. I'll say that much. And my assumption for picking Green in this fight was because let's take a little walk down memory lane here in his UFC career, right? Because he comes in, TKOs Luigi Vendramani. That one's a little back and forth, little scuffle that they have at the Apex, and during the pandemic and whatnot. Then he submits Kazula Vargas, and then submits Joseph, or I was gonna say Joseph Gordon-Levitt Jr., but it's Gordon-Levitt, and gets a questionable decision over Jared Gordon and struggles against Tony Ferguson. Those last two performances definitely gave me a look of a guy who wasn't sure where he was in his career at that point. Also, he's a big guy for the weight class, so him just ballooning up between when he fights is not also ideal for him. So I'm kind of taking a lot more factors than I probably should have than just like, okay, well, let's look at who these guys are as fighters and how they perform against certain competition on the night. Green is more of the guy that's like, he's more likely to just kind of get slept or get in trouble and just not come out with a victory than not. Patty's been that guy to basically pull a win out of his ass if he has to, and he's shown that. This was the guy I was expecting more of when he first came into the UFC, and he showed a little bit of it. This is him coming back to that, I'm out here to make a point, make a statement, and I'm going to get a win regardless of, who's in front of me. And I'm going to make sure I get an emphatic win. Now, the stoppage to me was just, twofold, because of course he's like, oh, he's looking to see if he's reacting to a person who's unconscious when his fucking elbow is inverted. Because that makes sense, But you can't. Green just kind of came in there thinking he could kind of bully the younger dude into playing his fight, and he was sadly mistaken. Patty was ready. Patty had pretty decent hands. Patty was also there ready for the grappling exchanges on any given moment, and he looked great tonight. And I'm imagining he's going to be, if this is the same Patty that shows up the next time he fights against a ranked opponent, anybody outside the top 10 is going to struggle with him. Maybe even the top, outside of the top 5. I don't know how he does against the top guys, but this is going to be an interesting case. And if he's going after Moicano, you can't really ask for a better opponent for him.
A couple of things before we move on here, just real quick. Apparently, just prior to this fight, in the lead up to this fight, it must have been in just the days prior. Apparently, they did re-sign Patty, and he said he's being like handsomely rewarded or like well taken care of or something like that. So, I guess they did re-sign him, and he said he's going nowhere.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, 200. I was gonna say 200 grand would do it.
That might explain why he got 200 rather than just 100.
And my only other thing is a possible matchup for him that I think would be a good one, and it would be a good next test. I heard some people saying that the right move and the talk behind the scenes is him versus Beneil Dariush. I think that's a bit too much for right now. And then I also think that people they're gonna say the same shit, that he's facing another older guy, even though Beneil's not that fucking old. He just looks old. But I think that a good matchup for Patty, a next matchup, would be Jalen Turner. Turner's only ranked 13th, so he's only going to be 2 spots ahead of Bobby. Ahead of Patty. Once he takes Bobby's spot, assuming I'm number 15. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a fucking hell of a fight, and it would be a good test because it's somebody around the same age bracket. So people, if he beats Jalen Turner and beats him convincingly, what can people say then?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's the real deal. And almost pulled a DC there. I see what you did.
All right, I guess we're done with Paddy then.
Yeah.
And we'll go on to the final, or rather first bonus of the night. Following a rather scrappy opening women's MMA fight between Bannon and Ardeleon, we had Mick Parkin defeat Lucas Bresky by KO strikes at 3 minutes 23 seconds of round 1. And this was the fight the card needed at the beginning. Mick Parkin looked cool, calm, collected. His striking was very much on point. He was landing some nice check hooks all the way through the fight. Bisping had actually commented that he had a very nice straight right counter, and that was actually the weapon that started the avalanche that followed it. He landed a straight right that gave Bresky wobbly legs, and then he pursued him across the cage with a flurry of blows. He landed another straight right, a crisp left shovel hook kind of thing that sent Bresky crashing to the canvas. And then Parkin was parking his fists on Bresky's head when Mark Goddard again stepped in to save another fighter from further punishment. And I must say, Mark Goddard looked pretty pleased that Mick had won this one when he was holding up his arm after the announcement had been made. It was kind of smiling a little bit, but fair play to him. I don't see why there's any reason he can't like a fighter, as long as he doesn't ref one that he really, really likes, which he said he won't do anyway.
Yeah.
And then we saw Parkin having a bit of fun with DC afterwards as well, because he'll. I'll take a moment on this one. I'll speak slow so you can understand us. I'll speak slow so you can understand us. That was something I had to translate for Lazy, and that means I will speak slowly so that you can understand me. Mick Parkin trying to be polite there to the world, I think failing a little bit. But yeah, I thought Mick was enjoying himself watching his KO with DC. He had the crowd behind him, fresh from the pubs. He was clearly loving the moment. I mean, who wouldn't? That must be one hell of a rush just to stand up there with the crowd baying your name, watching you planting your fists on some other guy's face and knocking him out. I can't imagine what that must feel like. And it seriously looks like Parkin is coming along very nicely from training with Tom. He's having his edge home there very nicely. He really showed he had a killer instinct once he hurt Bresky. And he looked good, at least for a heavyweight. I'm not sure he's ready for the top 15 for a top 15 fight yet. I think personally I'd like to see one more outside of the top 15 before he steps into the whale tank. Of course, if he does get a lot better, he may have to fight Tom. And I don't think Tom would have any problem facing him, but I'm not sure how Mick would feel about it. Anyway, that's going to be a long, long way away. And I'm giving my co-host plenty of time here because I bet they weren't thinking I was going to discuss this one. So I believe Mick now has the longest fight streak in the UFC heavyweight division. So congratulations to Mick. It was also great. The team, Tom Aspinall's team, phoned him after the fights because Mick, I presume living very close, had gone home. So they rang him up and told him that he'd won a 100k bonus, which was fun. He was obviously very, very happy about that one. So yeah, congratulations to another UK heavyweight. And now I'll let one of my co-hosts stutter along with whatever they've got to say on this one. After I've done them dirty.
I'll go first on this one because I watched this one live, and this was right before we went to go get sushi. And I was just like, "Oh, an unassuming heavyweight. Let's see how this looks." And sure enough, like I was proven wrong. He doesn't look like a killer. He doesn't look like that typical dude that you would see being a high-level competitor in this division. I don't know if he's at that level just yet, but he looked goddamn good. And you can't go wrong if you're training with Tom Aspinall for sure, especially when they got a majority of the good heavyweights out in the UK are training with him too. So that's got to help loads. And then on top of it too, setting the tone for the night is great, but also just getting the hell out of there so you could go home and sleep. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's probably thinking to himself, I want to pull a quick win so I could go home and fucking go to bed. It's enough of this bullshit.
I'm pretty sure he was sinking a few beers and waiting and watching the rest of the fights on TV.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Waiting to see how Tom would do.
I think at heavyweight, especially unranked heavyweight, they should let him sink a few beers before the fight. Let him really get into it.
Like the old days.
Yeah, there you go.
I could see him, walking to the cage with a fucking pint and a cigarette, just, ready to roll up and fucking have at it. Yeah, I definitely did not expect us to talk about this fight, so this is a bit of a swerve. I actually, coming into this fight, I did remember Mick's previous fight. I can't remember who he fought, but I do remember him looking good. I liked his hands. He's got nice hands for a big man. Pretty good feet too. Relatively nice footwork. My only real critique of him is he's got to move his fucking head. Like his head was on the center line the whole time. So like he's there to be hit. And obviously you could take some shots at heavyweight, but you also don't want to absorb too many.
I thought
Just
she'd
part
actually showed a little bit of head movement, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking of like the first round. He might have once he got into the
Only
groove.
went one round.
That's true. Maybe I'm just thinking of the first few minutes. I don't know. It was a long night. But yeah, for what he is, relatively talented guy, working with Tommy Aspinall and that camp that he's got going over there, and as far as I know, he's got a nice stable of heavyweights and big dudes over there and big bodies to work with. So that's a nice place to be as a heavyweight. I don't like you guys said. I'm not sure you move him into the rankings super quick. Maybe give him one more. I did look ahead at next week's card in Saudi Arabia, and there is one heavyweight fight on that card, and it's Shamil Gaziev. So I think if Gaziev wins next week, that's a nice matchup there. Put those two together somewhere down the line on another card, and if he gets that under his belt, yeah, you could start moving him into the rankings. I think. Definitely a pretty good future for a guy that's not too old as far as I know. Not positive off the top of my head because he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but yeah, Mick Parkin, fuck yeah, man. Get out there and fucking get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, go Mick. Best surname ever. Yeah, okay, so we had two other submissions on the card. We had Modestus Bukausis defeating Marcin Prachniau by submission, arm triangle choke at 3 minutes 12 of round 3. And Sam Patterson defeated Kiefer Crosby by submission, arm triangle choke at 2 minutes 50 of round 1. But that's pretty much the exciting fights that were on the card. Other than what we've discussed, there were a lot of points decisions, but there were also a couple of fights that really flopped, especially after all the bullshit that went on in the lead up to the card. The flop of the night for me, Mokaev defeated Manel Cap by decision, and afterwards this was after Cap had to be held back before the fight started by about 4 security guards. It just reminded me of the scene from Reservoir Dogs, where Mr. White gets into it with Mr. Blonde, and Mr. Blonde just goes, "You gonna bark all day, little doggy, or are you gonna bite?" And that's what we had here. It was a couple of terriers yapping at each other. I don't think anyone was surprised this was a pretty dull fight, but it wasn't dull just because Mo was spamming takedown attempts one after another, because he actually held back from doing that. He tried to strike a little bit with Cap, and the rumor was floating around that what he'd heard from the UFC that he needed to be more exciting and go for less takedowns, and this was a rumor that Dana denied. We saw Cap apparently hurt his toe in the cage. There's a lot of that about at the moment. Anyway, Mo got the win, goes to 13-0, and it looks like a brand new career with the PFL awaits him because Dana clearly isn't interested in re-signing him, unless maybe for Power Slap. I'm sure he would for that. And I think Cap might also be on a little bit of thin ice with Dana. He hasn't made any friends in the back room, I don't think. And so, what do we think of all this drama? We've had Mo's admitted that he set out to ambush Cap, and that's just not a wise thing to admit. So, are we glad to see the back of Mokaev? You know,
Awesome.
You got this one, Lazy.
You want me to go? All right.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ! What a goddamn shit show. Like fucking seriously, and of all the weight classes, for some reason I expect this the least from the flyweights. Like maybe that's wrong of me. Maybe the little man syndrome is a real thing, like the Napoleon syndrome, and they really are just a bunch of hotheads because they're fucking tiny. I mean, come on, like guys, what are you fucking doing? Like are you cage fighters? Sure, but you're also professional fucking athletes. Like you're supposed to be setting an example here and conducting yourself with some fucking common decency and like I just don't fucking understand it. But we went into this again on the preview show. We discussed the shenanigans leading up to this fight, and they continued in the week leading up to it, they went at it again at the fucking Fighter Hotel. Like, so there was more fighting that occurred in the build up to this fight, and in the first 20 seconds of it that then occurred in the actual, following fucking 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Not the performance I expected from either man, to say the least. Very disappointing. Am I happy to see Mokaev go? Yeah, I actually got to say that I am happy to see him go. Like, he just the impression he gave me was kind of that of like a spoiled youth, like somebody who just feels entitled and has a bit of a silver spoon in their mouth, and just thinks that the world's going to be handed to them on a silver platter. And I don't often agree with Dana, but I do think that this is a good time where if you want to set an example, this is a moment to do it. But another thing, I was saying this other places, and Dangermouse, you kind of touched on it. Like, if you're going to openly admit to sucker punching your opponent pre-fight, and then you're going to justify it with like the childish excuse, like I won't be bullied like other guys. You're not going to fucking. What are you talking about? Like, you're about to go into the fucking cage and fight, like a sanctioned fight legally. You take out your frustrations on each other. You've got 15 minutes to kill the dude if you want to. But if you're gonna pull that shit, you better be providing the UFC with some serious major financial gains or opportunities. Otherwise, what are you other than an insurance liability and a fucking public relations nightmare? So he's what, 22 years old?
23, I think.
Okay, 23. Well, you're undefeated. Clearly, there's going to be organizations out there that want you and are going to give you an opportunity. If you're Mo Mokaev, you go out there, sign with PFL, sign with Octagon or one of these organizations over in Europe, and get a few fucking wins under your belt. Show that you've matured and grown a little bit, and I'm sure that the UFC and Mick Maynard and Hunter Campbell and whoever are going to come calling, and they're going to come knocking on your door again, and they're going to offer you another contract. But until then, like, if I was him, I would just lay low. I would stay off social media. I'd keep my mouth shut, and I'd just fucking get in the gym and grind. Like, you're not doing yourself any favor if you open your mouth in this situation. So that's my take.
Okay, interesting. All right, I kind of have a different one. Not to continue to bag on him, but yeah, like, bro, you're gonna be sanctioned to fist fight somebody. You don't even have to be friendly. You don't have to be cordial. You just got to be professional. And sucker punching your opponent, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a picture. Let's take a picture," and then sucker punching him after that, like right as you're about to take the picture, like a prick, is not the way I would. I would expect a fighter, especially originally from Dagestan, to behave a little bit better. But at the same time, it's like he's also a young kid who thinks he's, his shit don't stink, and that comes with the territory when you got young fighters. The other thing too is that, like, I would think it'd be a bad look, not necessarily for the UFC, but just for the welfare of the flyweight division inside the UFC, if you got rid of undefeated prospect. Because yes, you didn't get along with him. You didn't get along with John Jones. You didn't get along with Colby Covington. You didn't get along with a lot of fighters. Then yet they stayed, possibly because they made more money. But that's also that, they're also capable of, fighting. But you don't care about what they do outside the cage for some reason. Yet with this guy, you might care for some reason. Interesting. Also, Masvidal did sucker punch Leon Edwards in the back of an event, and yet didn't get charged for it either. So, it's just par for the course for how the UFC conducts themselves sometimes, but neither here nor there. The other thing too is that, like, you don't need to escalate him to the point to where you're trying to build him up, because clearly that might not be working. Because if he continues with the style that he has, it's going to be the same result wherever he goes, where he thinks, no one's going to tell him any different. And again, the UFC doesn't necessarily care as long as they have somebody that's there that's also going to continue to give you wins. People like winners. And look at John Jones. Most of us can't stand the guy, but he's got fans that are like, oh, he wins all the time, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it still doesn't mean we cheer for the fucking guy. People would cheer for Mokaev just as well. UFC might want to consider just changing his deal, not giving him a whole lot of new stuff, but just giving him a shorter contract just to see if he can become something better. But don't give him any higher level, competition. The idea should be the punishment. We're going to pay you a little bit more. We're going to give you a short contract. Either you can win emphatically, or we're probably not going to be interested in giving you a title fight, which I also think is kind of wrong. It shouldn't matter how you win as long as you do win and you win within the rules, but I don't run the UFC and I'm not a matchmaker, so we'll see how it goes.
It sounds like he might be quite awkward to deal with as well. So
that's what I was going to say. Just to chime in real quick, to go off what you were saying there, Dangermouse, there was a lot more going on behind the scenes because Dana gave off the impression like this was also an internal issue. Like this was a issue regarding his relationship with the matchmakers and with Dana himself. So I think that there was some. Maybe he was just a dickhead behind the scenes too, and like he's young and they don't want to deal with it, and they figure that they can let this guy go somewhere else and mature and come back. And what do you really? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Is there another organization that specializes in lower weight fighters? Any particular, or have a good stable of lower weight fighters?
One championship, Chatrisiddharong.
350,000 baht from Chatrisiddharong. Yeah.
No, because they're all 35ers.
He can put on some weight. He's young.
I'm at 135 is kind of 125. That's where Demetrius Johnson and Adriano Moraes fight and stuff. It's a perfect fit.
Oh, there we go. That's fine. A rare interjection.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but would you pay to see him more in another organization? Because I probably wouldn't. I mean, it's Mokaev. Like, I'd rather him be in the UFC. Yes, he's probably hard to deal with, but they've dealt with harder people before. If that's the case, I mean, hell, for some reason they seem to be willing to go above and beyond for John Jones in this one instance, and the other one was like give Colby Covington a fucking title shot, 3 years for fucking not fighting, and his last fight was win over fucking Masvidal. If we're gonna give shit to Mokaev, I mean, we should question a lot of the things that they do, but neither here nor there.
He's up there with Masvidal mugging people outside the fighter hotel.
I mean, hey, Covington poked the bear on that one. I mean, you can't really, if it's one thing, if they're fighting, if they're not fighting, then it's a different story. I don't care. Whatever you guys chew in your own time, that's fine. If like Lazy said, you're literally going to be signed to fight somebody. Why are you going to jeopardize the payday on it?
Wasn't there some issue with him pulling Cap's shorts down as well or something? I missed it. I stepped out of the room for a second.
Again, I apologize for the interruptions. I keep having interruptions over here, so my takes are all scattered all over the place here. But yeah, that was the other thing too. Like blatant fucking cheating during the fight. Like he nearly fucking de-pantsed Cop. Like to the point his ass crack was showing. It's blurred and censored in fucking photos on different media outlets. Like and no point deducted. Terrible refereeing all night long, by the way. It's horrible fucking job by the referees. Fouls all night long. Warnings out the fucking wazoo. And not a single point deducted. No, I mean, unfucking believable. And then the last thing I wanted to add about this, the reason that guys like Masvidal didn't get and to clarify, Mokaev didn't get cut. Like we said, his contract was up, and they simply opted to not renew it. So I think this was a perfect series of events for him to be let go from the company. His foolish, boneheaded behavior, the contract coming to an end, his somewhat lackluster style, him being in Dana's least favorite division in the UFC, all this different shit. And the reason that guys like Masvidal didn't get cut, if you're going to reference the 3-piece in a soda, he was just coming off of fucking starching Darren Till over there, in England, and was already a huge asset to the company and a big name. So there was no way that they were going to let him go in a situation like this. But this was the perfect storm for a young guy like Mokaev to lose his spot in the big show, and now he's going to have to earn his way back.
Yep. Find some big boy pants. Get out there. Start knocking people over. I was going to ask about the new rules. Did you guys discuss them at all last week?
No, I don't believe we did.
Quick one. What do we think on those?
Seems like your field, Austin.
Oh no! So they changed the rules with a downed opponent to where it doesn't matter if it's two hands touching at all. It has to be a single knee, and then the knee. If an individual knee is touching the mat, one knee, then that is considered a down opponent. That anything else is not. So if anybody has any issues with that, like look for the knee. Like if a knee is touching at any given point, then that's a grounded opponent. Anything else is fair game, but which is fine. That's fair. That's what the idea is, to not hinder competition, is to give fighters the opportunity to attack with different situations, because then we get stalls and whatnot. Though I don't really care about 12 to 6 elbows, and I'm not sure why everybody else does, because it's like it doesn't really add more. It's like one individual strike coming downward if you're doing it like in a position similar to what John Jones is doing. Unless you have that body type, the 12 to 6 does not really help you. And the only time that it really does is if someone's going to come in and you're going from not 12 to 6, but like other angles, when someone's coming in on a takedown. I mean, if you're in a mounted position, then maybe, but that's the only other thing too, because it's like he's coming from up high, down low, which is, you can still do that from like the lateral movement, but the whole thing was, it's like, oh, it's supposed to be like, less questions about, a hard strike. I don't think it's a basic. I don't think it's I have a weird take on this one. I don't give a shit about the 12 to 6. So like, if it was illegal, if it's not, if it's legal now to do it, just, make sure you're not doing it to the back of the head. Everything else, I guess, is still considered fair game, or to the throat.
It just takes a bit of doubt away from the sport. When referees are going, oh, is that 12-6 or is that 85?
If it is, the difference should be, is the move itself illegal? That's it. Because people are still not allowed to knee to a grounded opponent inside of most MMA organizations. And foot stomps, questionable when they happen. Certain submissions are also a thing that, we take a look at because of where they're happening. I think it's just a matter of like, it's supposed to make it more clear as to what we're looking at, and it makes it supposed to be easier for more refs and officials, so that they're like, hey, is that illegal? No, technically this whole thing is legal, so now it shouldn't matter, but this is one of the rules where I'm like, okay, as long as we're just going to get ever closer to introducing soccer kicks again, and it's like, god damn it, guys. I don't think that's where we should be going.
Robert Whittaker wants those back.
I know, those fucking crazy fuck.
If the repo just wanted to collect souls there, that's all that is.
That's fair. There you go. That's fair.
My take on this is basically this. I just feel that these were two rules that needed changed anyway. Like these, I don't believe that these two rules should have ever cost anyone a fight. That this should have never been an issue. This should have never been a case. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they should bring soccer kicks back, but I am in favor of knees to a grounded opponent. Like I think that should just be perfectly legal. To me, it should that you shouldn't be able to use a position as a defense mechanism in a cage fight. Like, I don't think you should be able to manipulate the rules in that sense. You should be defend yourself at all times. But that is what it is. I'm a just bleed guy. It is. That's how I was born and bred. Yeah, I'm in favor of the rule changes. I think it's about time, and I don't see any issue with it.
Good. We're all in agreement there then. Okay, well, that's about all we have time for after a busy night of fights. I don't
Oh no!
I don't think anything else exciting happened, did it? We do need a score for this card. Who wants to go first? Austin?
No, no. Hey, you got it. You got to let us talk about Bilal's.
That's the hour up, I'm afraid, guys.
No, get the fuck out of here.
Bedtime over here in Black's. It's just not on the script. Sorry, that's the way it goes. Maybe you and Lazy can get together later and do a little
Get the fuck out of here.
Well, if the guys don't want to score it, I'm going to give this a 7.5 overall, I think.
Come on. I'm just stop right now. We're not going to talk about this.
I got to score. Bully B's the champ. He's the champion of the world. He did what nobody said he could do. He beat all the fucking haters. You can all suck it. Remember the fucking name. Muhammad. Oh, my score.
Agreed.
Yeah, my score. I've seen a lot of people actually complaining about this, which seems to be a theme every fucking card. I had a good time. Maybe it's because the majority of my picks were right, and I predicted some perfect scenarios and endings to some of these fights. But yeah, I had a really good time. Crowd was pretty electric despite the time, and yeah, I loved it, man. I'm gonna give this card an 8.
Woohoo! High vote from Lazy.
I think it's more of the shenanigans for Lazy than anything. But
the extra show I recorded after is going to be a total 10.
I see the card as being an 8 as well, mainly because I felt like there could have been different outcomes that could have gone worse, but it all played out fairly well in the end. Can't really complain with the amount of combat that we got to see this weekend. So 8 works for me as well. Also, Bilal, remember the name Muhammad, getting the decision against a very tough Leon Edwards, who was also spiked at one point during the takedowns that he was landing, and Bilal showing that he does have hands. Come at me, anti-Bilal haters, because guess what? This man, and I know Larry has been spamming a bunch of hate against Bilal, so great for Bilal, as well as Mouse denying that the fight happened. There we go. That's proper British anti-Bilal hatred.
I'm dying here. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, did you actually give the score, Austin, or not?
I did. I said 8.
Yeah, you said an 8, didn't you? Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if I don't get murdered, we'll be back next week for UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov again. I don't think the guy. Yeah, bring the hate on you fuckers.
Don't be mad because we picked the right guy.
Yeah, you just wait until next week. It's supposed to be Saudi Arabia, or is it Saudi Arabia? Yeah, it's supposed to be Saudi Arabia. It's going to end up being 30 minutes of Bilal Muhammad to start the show.
Oh, no, yeah. We were going to go in deep on that one for sure.
I'll have to watch the fight then, won't I?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could just admit that you didn't win and we could move on.
Oh, we didn't win. I fell asleep before the fight started, woke up at the end of round 4, watched round 5, sorry, and then went to bed after I saw the result, and I didn't get a chance to rewatch it because trying to actually watch that is what caused me to lose my notes. So fuck Malal. I might have written him in. Actually, I'm lying. I never intended to write him in. Fuck you, and fuck you twice, Bilal.
He would. He would, Matt.
And you, Craig, as well. You're not getting out of this either.
One last thing. We can't get out of here without mentioning it. Sorry to throw this in so late, but shout out to Karate Combat for having the wildest assortment of characters in their audience that I think I've ever fucking seen. We had the likes of RFK, we had Kenny Florian, we had Ben Askren, we had the Hawk Tua girl, we had everybody in that motherfucker, including my main man, everybody's favorite, Robin Black. Think.
Don't you mean Bonk?
Nice.
Kill that bitch dead.
What?
That's only kill that bitch. Kill Craig.
Oh my god. I wonder if Craig is a Bilal Muhammad fan.
There's no way. There's no way Craig's a Bilal Muhammad fan. He's definitely a Leon Edwards guy.
It's like a police state in here. That's all I can say.